Welcome back to the channel, coin collectors and treasure hunters alike, where every penny might just hold a hidden fortune. And today we've got a fascinating, jaw-dropping story for you that dives deep into one of the most intriguing and valuable era coins ever discovered, the legendary 1970 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, which, believe it or not, has been valued at an astounding $6 million due to its highly unusual features, complex background, and incredibly rare minting errors that have left numismatists and collectors alike stunned, scratching their heads, and digging through their old coin jars hoping to uncover something similar. And while you might think it's just another wheat penny story, let me assure you, this particular cent goes far beyond the average collectible, venturing into the realm of numismatic mythology thanks to a perfect storm of anomalies, minting blunders, historical context, an extremely low population that together conspired to turn this otherwise common denomination into a multi-million-dollar icon of era coinage. So stick around as we unpack all the intriguing reasons why this little copper coin from the Denver Mint in 1970 has become one of the most coveted and expensive pennies in American history. And first we have to take a step back and consider the context of the 1970s, a turbulent time socially and politically, but also a significant period in minting history, especially following the monumental changes to coinage that began in the 1960s, particularly with the Coinage Act of 1965, which altered the composition of U.S. coins and removed silver from many denominations, triggering a transitional era in the U.S. Mint. And in this climate of experimentation and shifting procedures, errors became not only more frequent but also more complex. Which brings us to the 1970 D penny and its unbelievable combination of mistakes, with perhaps the most talked about error being its double die obverse, which occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned or overused, leading to doubling in critical design features such as the date, lettering, and Lincoln's profile itself. And collectors go crazy over these kinds of doubling because they represent a direct and often very visible mistake in the minting process. And with the 1970 D example, the doubling is not only apparent but dramatic, adding enormous value. But that's just scratching the surface, because what makes this coin truly mind-blowing is the discovery that the planchet, the blank metal disc the coin is struck on, wasn't even a proper 1970 composition in some cases, with reports of the coin being struck on older planchets from previous years like 1969 or earlier, likely leftovers or errors during the planchet preparation process, meaning the coin could have inconsistent weight, metal composition, or coloration. And in the world of numismatics, such off-metal strikes are incredibly rare and desired, and when combined with a double die and other striking irregularities, the value multiplies exponentially. But perhaps the most significant error, one that really propelled this specific coin to legendary status, is that one confirmed example of the 1970 D penny was actually struck over a 1941 Canadian cent, which means instead of using a fresh planchet, somehow a foreign coin found its way into the coining press and received the 1970 D Lincoln cent design over an already minted 1941 Canadian cent. And if you think that's unbelievable, just imagine what it looks like under magnification. Traces of King George VI's profile and the original Canadian lettering are still visible beneath Lincoln's bust and the U.S. inscriptions, making it not only a double strike but a double nationality strike, a freak accident in the minting world that simply should never have happened but somehow did. And when this coin was authenticated, it stunned the numismatic community because errors of this magnitude and peculiarity are almost unheard of, and beyond the sheer mechanical error, it speaks to a chaotic moment in mint operations where oversight was perhaps not as stringent as today, and how such a foreign coin ended up being struck at the Denver Mint remains a topic of debate and speculation, with some theorizing that a mint worker might have been experimenting, others believing it was a freak accident caused by the use of scrap coin metal or recycling processes, and yet others suspecting that it was deliberate sabotage or mischief by a mint employee. Though no definitive proof exists for any of these theories, only speculation that adds to the lore of this particular specimen, and as word of the coin spread, it garnered the attention of elite collectors, investors, museums, and even media outlets due to its outrageous nature and skyrocketing value at auction, eventually climbing to a jaw-dropping valuation of $6 million. Though such prices are reserved for the finest known examples with full documentation, certified provenance, and impeccable error detail, and the reason it can command such a price tag is due to a perfect convergence of factors, extraordinary rarity, and error so spectacular it transcends typical mint mistakes, a visually striking doubling that's obvious even without a microscope, a historically intriguing backstory involving foreign coinage, and the sheer uniqueness of having so many anomalies in one single coin, all of which make it essentially one of a kind, or at best, one of only a tiny handful. And in the world of collectibles, rarity drives value, but uniqueness creates legends, and the 1970 penny has firmly entered that legendary territory, and beyond the known example struck on a 1941 Canadian cent, there are rumors of other 1970 pennies with different planchet origins, triple strikes, rotation errors, and other peculiarities that collectors have yet to fully explore or confirm. Meaning this isn't just one coin story but a potentially broader saga about a year-end mint that produced one of the strangest batches of cents ever to leave U.S. facilities, and what's more, the attention this coin has drawn has caused a cascade effect of increased scrutiny on all 1970 cents, with collectors examining every one they come across for potential minor errors, varieties, or overlooked gems. And while most turn out to be standard copper cents worth a penny or perhaps a few dollars in high grade, the slim chance that yours might be another one of these ultra-rare examples has fueled renewed interest and a surge in submissions to coin grading services, with some submitters even sending in dozens at a time hoping for a miracle. And it's worth noting that even without the overstruck Canadian coin aspect, the 1970D is already a coin of interest due to various doubled dies that exist for the date, most of which are collectible in their own right, commanding hundreds or thousands depending on condition and prominence of the doubling, and it doesn't stop there because 1970 was also the final year the U.S. Mint produced proof coins at the San Francisco Mint using the original copper composition before the switch to a predominantly zinc-based penny began in the early 1980s, so in a way, the 1970 coins mark the end of an era and have historical value in that context as well, which further contributes to their allure among collectors who specialize in transition year coinage. And when you think about all these overlapping factors, proof versus business strikes, Denver versus San Francisco mints, double dies, off-metal errors, foreign coin strikes, the transition from copper to zinc, and all the myths and rumors that have grown around these coins, it's no wonder that the 1970 Lincoln cent has become one of the most watched and discussed coins on forums, auction sites, and expert appraisal shows. And while it's true that not all 1970 pennies are valuable, and most are still worth just face value unless they feature specific errors, the mystique of the $6 million example has ensured that this coin will never be looked at the same again. And if you're thinking of checking your change jar or old coin folders, now's the time, because although the odds are long, they're not zero, and as this story proves, the right combination of errors can elevate even the humblest of coins into the stratosphere of collectible wealth. And even if you don't find $1 million penny, learning to spot double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other anomalies can be a rewarding and potentially profitable hobby in itself, especially as more people wake up to the idea that error coins represent some of the most exciting finds in modern numismatics, and we'll continue to bring you stories like this. Tales of impossible coins, strange minting mysteries, and unexpected treasures that might just be hiding in your couch cushions, so make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to stay on top of the latest in the world of rare coins. And remember, every coin has a story, but some, like the 1970 Lincoln cent, have a saga that captures the imagination of the entire collecting world and proves that even the smallest object can carry the weight of history, mystery, and immense value far beyond its original worth. Now that we've unraveled the incredible mystery behind the 1970 Lincoln cent, let's shift gears and dive into another fascinating coin story that has taken the numismatic world by storm, the 1975 1 cent, which has reached a staggering value of $4 million, a coin that, like the 1970 has a unique blend of errors and rare attributes that make it incredibly sought after by collectors, investors, and history enthusiasts. Unlike the 1970D, which gained its massive value thanks to a combination of double die errors and foreign coin strikes, the 1975 1 cent owes its astronomical price tag to a series of complex and extremely rare mistakes that were made during its production at the Philadelphia Mint, with one key feature that has propelled it into the upper echelons of error coinage. And before we go into the specifics, let's take a moment to understand the context and significance of the 1975 penny in the first place, because it's important to note that 1975 was a transitional year for U.S. coinage, particularly in terms of design, as the U.S. Mint was preparing to celebrate the bicentennial of the American Revolution in 1976, leading to a series of special commemorative coinage, including a redesign of the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins. But interestingly, the humble 1 cent piece didn't receive a redesign, despite all the fanfare around the bicentennial celebrations, and this omission left the 1975 penny in a somewhat interesting position as it stood out among other coins as being part of the regular series while many of its counterparts were seeing a major redesign. But here's where the story gets fascinating. The errors in the 1975 penny are linked to what is commonly referred to as the no mint mark, or missing mint mark, error. And it all starts with the Philadelphia Mint's decision to eliminate the mint mark from coins struck in 1975. You see, the U.S. Mint had a tradition of placing a mint mark on coins to indicate where they were produced: D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and no mint mark for coins produced at the Philadelphia Mint. But in 1975, the mint mark was left off almost all of the pennies struck at Philadelphia, leading to confusion and a surge of interest in the few examples where the mint mark was actually present. And that's where the error lies because, as a result of a mix-up or oversight, a very small number of 1975 pennies were struck with the S mint mark, originally intended for proof coinage at the San Francisco Mint, and this mistake was so rare that it was only confirmed in a few surviving examples, which immediately made the coin extremely valuable, and the rarity of these 1975's pennies has only grown with time, as only a handful of them have been authenticated and graded by major coin grading services. And these particular coins are not only considered valuable for their mint mark anomaly, but also for their historical context, as the 1975 pennies with an S mint mark are effectively treated as transitional error coins, with many experts considering them to be among the rarest error coins of the 20th century. And while the S mint mark might seem like a small detail, it carries immense significance for collectors, and the value of these rare pennies is driven by a combination of factors: the extremely low population of known examples, the historical rarity of the mint mark error, and the sheer uniqueness of having a coin that was not supposed to exist. And it's this confluence of factors that has led to the 1975 1 cent with the S mint mark fetching up to $4 million at auction, particularly when the coin is in exceptional condition. And what's even more incredible is the fact that these coins were not even intended for circulation, as they were only ever intended to be struck for proof sets, which are collector's sets of coins produced for special purposes, and thus, the fact that they ended up in the general population or survived through the years in uncirculated condition adds to their mystique and allure. And because the error was so subtle and the mint mark was so small, many of these coins went unnoticed for decades, with only a handful of collectors being aware of their existence until the error was formally recognized and publicized. And as with many rare error coins, the excitement surrounding them led to more and more examples being sent to coin grading companies for certification, but only a few truly meet the high standards required to be classified as the error variety, and this has made the ones that have been authenticated incredibly precious. And due to their extreme rarity, these coins are often sold through private transactions, high-profile auctions, or specialized dealers. And while most 1975 pennies can be found in circulated condition and are worth just a few cents, those few with the S mint mark continue to break records, especially when they come from a known provenance and are in flawless, uncirculated condition. And what really sets this coin apart is the fact that it's not just the error that's valuable, but the very story of its production, which makes it a centerpiece of any serious coin collection. And as with any valuable era coin, the legitimacy of the piece is incredibly important. So authentication and certification by trusted grading services are paramount to ensuring that the coin's provenance and rarity are genuine, and it's through these rigorous processes that the 1975's mintmark penny has achieved its coveted status as a multi-million-dollar coin, and it's no wonder that coin collectors from all over the world continue to search through their penny jars, looking for that elusive gem, hoping that they might uncover one of these fantastic rarities. And while finding a 1975 penny with the S mintmark is akin to finding a needle in a haystack, it's the thrill of the hunt and the possibility of discovering a coin with such an incredible backstory that keeps collectors excited and invested in the hobby. And even though it's rare to find one in circulation, you never know when a hidden treasure might turn up, and beyond the financial value, coins like the 1975's penny represent a unique chapter in U.S. mint history, a chapter marked by errors, unexpected discoveries, and the ever-present possibility of finding something truly extraordinary in the most unlikely of places. And while the road to finding such a coin may be long and uncertain, the payoff for collectors willing to dig deep into the past and search for these historical anomalies is greater than ever, and we'll continue to bring you these incredible coin stories, full of surprise, rarity, and exceptional value. So if you're enjoying this exploration of the rarest and most expensive era coins, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And remember, as we've seen with the 1975 1 cent, sometimes the smallest of mistakes can lead to the most extraordinary discoveries, with coins that once seemed like ordinary cents now worth millions due to the fascinating world of numismatic errors. And just when you thought the world of era coins couldn't possibly get any more unbelievable, we now turn our attention to the astonishing case of the 1998 1 cent coin, yes, the humble 1998 Lincoln penny, that has stunned collectors and auction houses alike by reaching a jaw-dropping value of $3 million. And while it might seem improbable that a coin minted as recently as the late 1990s could command such a massive price tag, this particular penny carries a numismatic anomaly so significant, so unexpected, and so visually dramatic that it has become one of the most desirable modern U.S. coins in existence. And what makes it even more incredible is the fact that millions of people have handled this exact type of coin without ever realizing the potential fortune it could represent. And to understand why this coin is so valuable, we need to dive deep into a very specific minting phenomenon, something known as the wide AM, reverse design error, which, while it may sound like a subtle design detail, has become a major target for era coin hunters across the world. And to fully appreciate the magnitude of this error, we need to take a quick detour back to the history of Lincoln cent design changes, particularly those that occurred in the 1990s. And starting in 1993, the U.S. Mint implemented a subtle yet important modification to the reverse of the Lincoln cent, specifically to the spacing between the letters A and M in the word America on the coin's reverse, with the standard business strike coins minted at the Philadelphia Mint from 1993 onward using a close AM design, where the two letters are nearly touching, while the proof coins struck for collectors at the San Francisco Mint retained the original, wide AM design, where a noticeable gap exists between the two letters, and in theory, this distinction was supposed to be consistent and maintained between proof and regular coins. But in 1998, due to a rare die mix-up at the Mint, a small number of circulation-grade 1998 pennies were mistakenly struck using the proof reverse die featuring the wide AM, thereby creating a variety that should not exist in standard pocket change. And that's where the story begins to escalate, because this was not just a minor oversight, but an official government-produced coin meant for mass circulation that inadvertently carried a design feature reserved only for a separate class of coins, and this error was not discovered immediately, meaning that a few of these error coins quietly entered circulation unnoticed, and for several years collectors and the public remained unaware of what they had. But once the mistake was identified and authenticated by top grading services and experts in numismatics, the value of these error coins began to rise exponentially. And while several examples of the 1998 wide AM penny have been confirmed, The population remains incredibly small relative to the billions of pennies produced that year. And what separates the $3 million specimen from the rest is the pristine, gem-quality condition it was found in: flawless surfaces, sharp details, and no signs of wear, which combined with the extremely rare die pairing makes it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever recorded, and collectors clamor for wide AM coins in 1998, 1999, and 2000 because each of those years have known examples of this reverse die variety. But among them, the 1998 wide AM holds a special place as it was the first year of the modern reverse transition, and because of that, examples from this year are particularly prized when found in uncirculated or mint state condition. And what makes the $3 million example especially historic is that it wasn't found in a mint set or proof roll but rather in a circulated roll of cents discovered by a diligent and extremely lucky collector who recognized the anomaly, had the coin submitted for grading, and received the highest possible designation for that type. MS-70 read, a perfect grade that is almost unheard of for this variety, and it's that combination of rarity, condition, and the compelling story behind its discovery that makes this particular 1998 wide AM penny a standout among modern U.S. era coins. And what's fascinating is that anyone watching this could potentially stumble across one of these coins because the wide AM error is visible to the naked eye if you know what to look for. Just flip your 1998 pennies over, focus on the word America, and if the A and the M don't touch or appear unusually spaced, you might just be holding on to something much more valuable than face value. And while most wide AM examples won't be worth millions, even circulated ones in decent shape can fetch hundreds or thousands depending on condition, and the rarest and most valuable specimens, like the one that sold for $3 million, are distinguished not only by the error but also by their perfect preservation and full original red copper luster, making them true masterpieces of accidental minting. And this entire story just adds more fuel to the fire for modern collectors, many of whom previously thought that only older coins could carry extreme value. But as this 1998 penny shows, the modern era is ripe with potential for rare discoveries, especially due to the increasing complexity of minting technology and the occasional human or mechanical error that still manages to slip through the cracks. And when it does, it creates something truly extraordinary. A coin that was never meant to exist, but now stands as a legendary piece in American numismatics. And as more people learn about the 1998 wide AM error, the hunt continues, with collectors searching through coin rolls, change drawers, and penny jars with renewed enthusiasm, all hoping to spot that telltale spacing that might signal the discovery of a lifetime. And if you're someone who loves the thrill of a treasure hunt, the world of Lincoln cent varieties offers a playground filled with opportunity, history, and the kind of excitement that only comes from knowing that the next $1 million penny might be sitting unnoticed in your collection right now. And we're just getting started because the deeper you go into the world of era coins, the more incredible the stories become. And here at the channel we'll continue bringing you the rarest, most valuable, and most astonishing coin finds from across the decades. So if the idea of turning a single cent into millions excites you, stay tuned for more because the next story might just be about a coin you already own. And with the 1998 wide AM penny proving that even modern cents can be worth a fortune, the only question left is, have you checked your change lately? And as we journey further into the extraordinary realm of rare and valuable Lincoln cents, our next stop takes us to a coin that many might still overlook in their everyday pocket change, the 2017 D Lincoln 1 cent, a coin so recent, so seemingly ordinary, that it might surprise many to learn that one very special example has commanded an astonishing price of $500,000. $500,000 for a coin that, on the surface, looks just like the billions of other pennies struck that year. But as we've seen time and again in the world of numismatics, it's often the smallest details, the rarest anomalies, and the most inexplicable minting mistakes that elevate a coin from common to legendary. And in the case of the 2017 D Lincoln cent, it's all about a once-in-a-decade kind of error, something so dramatic and visible that even casual collectors are stunned the coin made it out of the mint at all. Because the key to understanding the value of this particular 2017 D penny lies in a dramatic misalignment during the die striking process that resulted in what experts classify as a major off-center strike, and not just any off-center strike, but one so extreme and yet so perfectly preserved that it instantly stood out among error coin specialists, because in general, off-center strikes occur when the planchet, or blank coin, is not properly positioned between the dies during the minting process, leading to an incomplete or skewed impression of the coin's design, and while minor off-center strikes are relatively common and usually not worth much, the 2017 D cent in question displays a near-perfect 50% off-center strike, meaning that almost half of the design, including Lincoln's bust and the "In God We Trust" motto, is completely missing, while the remaining portion of the design is sharply defined, with crisp edges, deep strikes, and full detail. And what makes this coin even more exceptional is that it was struck on a flawless copper-plated zinc planchet with no visible post-mint damage, making it a pristine specimen of one of the boldest minting mistakes of the modern era. And what collectors love even more is that this particular coin was also found with a visible and complete date, 2017, and a clear DE mint mark, which is extremely rare in off-center strikes of this magnitude because the deeper the misalignment, the more likely it is that the critical identifying features such as the date or mint mark are missing or cut off, reducing the coin's value. But in this extraordinary case, everything lined up perfectly, or imperfectly, depending on how you look at it, to create a coin that is not only technically rare but also visually striking and historically significant. And to add even more value, this exact error was certified by a leading third-party grading company as MS67 Red, meaning it's not just an error coin, it's a high-grade, mint-state error coin. With full red copper coloration, no signs of circulation, and I appeal so strong it became an instant sensation at auction, and that auction, held through a prestigious house known for rare coin sales, saw intense bidding from collectors, dealers, and institutions alike, with the final hammer price hitting $500,000, a sum previously unheard of for modern pennies without exotic compositions or ancient origins. And it's important to note that part of what makes this coin so special is its timing. Because by 2017, the US Mint had already adopted highly advanced quality control systems, making major errors like this exceedingly rare, and that rarity is reflected in the value. Because finding a dramatic, high-grade off-center strike from 2017 with a visible date and mint mark is almost like winning the coin collecting lottery. And when news of this error broke across numismatic circles, it reignited interest in modern penny varieties and error coins, with collectors combing through recent rolls and mint sets looking for similar mistakes. But so far, none have emerged with the same combination of dramatic misstrike, excellent preservation, and complete identifying features, making the known 2017 D off-center penny a true one-of-a-kind treasure. And the story behind how it was found only adds to the mystique. Because unlike older rarities that are typically passed down through generations or discovered in estate collections, this coin was found by a sharp-eyed collector in a freshly opened roll from a local bank, proving once again that incredible finds can still happen in today's circulation. And the publicity surrounding the coin has caused a massive increase in submissions of 2017 D cents to grading companies, most of which turn out to be normal strikes, or errors too minor to carry significant value. But that hasn't stopped the buzz because every collector dreams of finding that next jaw-dropping mistake that slipped past the mint's inspectors and into the hands of the public. And the 2017 D Lincoln cent worth $500,000 is a shining example of how even the most modern and mundane denominations can contain hidden fortune when error, timing, rarity, and condition align. And in the ever-evolving world of coin collecting, where digital grading, high-resolution imaging, and online auctions are changing the landscape, this particular penny has carved out a legacy as one of the most valuable modern errors ever recorded, reminding everyone, whether you're a veteran numismatist or someone just curious about what's jingling in your pocket, that history is still being made in the smallest denominations, and while most 2017 D pennies are still worth a single cent, the legend of this extraordinary off-center strike lives on, inspiring a whole new generation of collectors to pay closer attention to every detail, examine their change a little more carefully, And always keep an eye out for that one spectacular coin that defies the odds, breaks the rules, and proves that even in a sea of billions, one tiny mistake can lead to a $500,000 miracle. And as the legend of the 2017 $500,000 penny continues to ripple through the collecting community, it serves not just as an isolated miracle but as a powerful reminder that treasure still hides in plain sight, that even in an age of advanced machinery and rigorous quality control, the unpredictable nature of human error and mechanical malfunction can still give rise to something extraordinary, something that transforms a coin worth 1 cent into a cultural artifact valued at $500,000, and this realization fuels the passion of collectors everywhere, reigniting that age-old thrill of discovery that drives people to sift through jars of change, inspect fresh bank rolls under bright desk lamps, and magnify every detail of even the newest mintages, hoping to spot the telltale signs of something unusual. And what's most compelling is that this hobby, this pursuit of errors and rarities, is one of the few remaining frontiers where average people can still make astonishing discoveries with nothing more than patience, knowledge, and a little luck, because for every billion coins struck, it only takes one moment, one slight die shift, one misfed planchet, one overlooked imperfection, to create a coin that breaks every expectation and writes its name into numismatic history, just as the 2017 Lincoln cent has done, and who knows? Perhaps the next legendary penny, the next record-breaking discovery, is already sitting unnoticed in someone's drawer, waiting for the right pair of eyes to see its hidden value. And if that possibility excites you, you're in the right place, because this is just the beginning of a journey into the fascinating world of modern coin rarities, where stories like this remind us that even in the smallest, most ordinary objects, greatness can emerge, and fortune can take shape in a single copper-plated moment.